The Jesus Trilogy, Book 1, The Four Messiahs, Chapter 7, Part C. It was first light, and as she rose out of bed, she saw her mother standing in the doorway. "Mary, why are you up?" her mother asked. "I couldn't sleep." That was true, but Mary wasn't about to tell her mother the reason. "What's wrong with you, Mary?" "Nothing, nothing at all. I'm the happiest woman in the world." "What's gotten into you?" Sarah thought. She's been in a foul mood for weeks. After breakfast, Mary got dressed and headed for Joseph's. They would have their little talk today, she hoped. Joseph was a good man, very sweet and very good-looking. Then it hit her. Surely not. God wouldn't do such a thing, would he? She had to sit. She spotted a roadside bench and nearly collapsed on it. After a minute, she reminded herself that God said he would take care of everything. She must let him do the work. She certainly felt incapable of much herself at this point. She would tell Joseph she would stay on and continue to work for him. She came up the walk, went in the door, and all the kids raced to meet her. Joseph was in the back working feverishly. Mary cooked lunch, which they all ate. Then the kids went back to their playing. Jed headed for the neighbors. About 3, Mary took some tea out to Joseph. She must face the music, and now is a good time to do it. "Joseph, here's some tea," she said loudly so he could hear her over the saw blade. "Thanks," he said, looking up and letting the saw wheel come to a stop. "Have you made a decision yet?" he asked. "I think so." "What will the hours be?" she asked. "Mine are about 9 to 5, he said, so say 8:30 until 5. If you need to go out while the boys are in school, you can take Rachel along or leave her at Nancy's. She's an old friend. Nancy ran a sort of daycare, not the cleanest place, 10 or so kids, but Nancy was good-hearted, and an hour or two shouldn't hurt. Joseph, there's something else you ought to know. I'm pregnant." She couldn't believe what she had just said. You're pregnant?" A silence ensued, both of them staring at the floor. "Who's the father?" Joseph finally asked. "I don't know. I can't say." "Sorry, none of my business." "It's not yours," Mary blurted out, again not believing what she was saying. Joseph thought for a moment and then said, "You know, and I know that it's not mine, ours, but there will be rumors, lots of rumors. I know we haven't spoken to them, but we both know they exist. I thought you would be leaving here long ago, but thank goodness you stayed," he added. "I would never leave you, Joseph," Mary said. Where on earth were these words coming from? I must have flipped out completely. What happened next made even less sense. They leaned across the little table and kissed each other. Only their lips met, but both were instantaneously excited. The kiss lingered for a full minute, then slowly their lips parted and they stared into each other's eyes. Neither could break the hypnotic spell. That task was left to the real power in the family. "Mary, Mary, where are you?" A sweet little voice asked. "Mary, can you read me a story?" Rachel had raced in and broken the spell. "Sure I can." Mary gave Joseph one last look as she and Rachel left the room and went up to the house. Supper went normally. Mary got Rachel off to bed. Jed was staying over at a friend's, and Josh went in back to play. Joseph went out to the carpenter's shop. As Mary got ready to leave, Joseph approached her, saying, "Mary, I'm sorry for what I said and did this afternoon. I don't know what came over me. I haven't kissed anyone since Rachel." "Don't be sorry, Joseph," Mary said. "Please sit for a minute. I promise I won't let anything happen." He sat 12 feet away on a carpenter's stool, and she sat at the little table where the kiss had occurred. "Did you mean it?" Mary asked. "No, well, yes, I guess I did. I just don't know." Words came hard. He paused. "I think the world of you, Mary. You know that." And you, Mary, had the upper hand. She had felt something earlier that afternoon, and she did not want to let it go. "I never felt like that with anyone," she now said, but she quickly realized the enormous implications of that statement and looked to the floor, wishing she were somewhere else, anywhere. "Mary, I don't know who the father of your baby is, and it's none of my business. But if he isn't with you, won't admit it," Joseph couldn't spit it out. Finally regrouping, he said, I would be honored to be the father. You know what I mean. "He is not with me and won't ever be." It was a lie of sorts. "I would love to have you as the father, but I couldn't expect you to agree to such a thing. There will be talk." Joseph now gained control. This was his turf. Talk is cheap. I'll take care of you, and woe to anyone who tries to hurt or demean you. Joseph had now crossed the line by vowing to take care of Mary. He didn't realize what he had just committed himself to, but Mary did. Her face remained solemn, but inside she was beaming. He cared for her exactly as she was, no questions asked. What a priceless thing is love, she thought. Love, she thought aloud. What? He said. Nothing, she said, then added, how will all of this work, Joseph? You can keep on working here until you have to quit. We can marry when you wish. There is no hurry. You haven't asked me yet. He came over to the chair, knelt on the floor in front of her, took both of her hands in his big strong ones and said, Mary, will you marry me? Yes, she said softly. Then, as if trying to disengage herself from what had just happened, she said, I must go, and got up off the chair, tears welling in her eyes. Mary, he said. She turned. God does provide, he said. No one knows that better than we. Good night, dear Joseph. Neither Joseph nor Mary slept much that night. Neither could believe what had happened that day. It was like a dream and a nightmare, all rolled into one, yet it seemed if neither one of them could have stopped any of it from happening. Joseph suspected God must have had his hand in it. There was no other explanation. But what had Joseph gotten himself into? Mary was gaining a grasp of things, however. God was giving her a baby. He also had given her a father, well, two fathers, and he gave her love all in one day. What a powerful force love must be. What an awesome God she had. Mary slept like a baby. No woman could have ever been happier.